Boker Tov, everyone. It's the third day of Hanukkah, and we are continuing to have a wonderful, wonderful time. I don't know if you've noticed, I've noticed, and Robin has commented on Facebook, how many more examples of people posting their lighting of candles, first night, second night, third night. It's fantastic. And Robin correctly points out that the role of Hanukkah is liparnes, to announce the miracle, to publicize the miracle. And the fact that so many people are now posting their Hanukkah thoughts and feelings and wishes on Facebook is really a remarkable fulfillment of what our tradition asks us to do. Be that as the case, I thought we would focus on something a little different. We are in Mikeitz in our Torah portion. That is the next of the story of the Joseph saga. All right, and here we have the great moment of reversal. Now, one can look at the story of Joseph in a way that he's acted upon again and again earlier, and now he starts to act, but in fact, he's always acted. He's always been involved in something. So it says, for example, that when he worked in Potiphar's house, he reorganized it and he made it work so that everything worked well. And then when he found himself in the dungeon, which is really a holding place until they decide what to do with you, to whip you, exile you, or expel you, or kill you, he also puts that place in order. So it seems like Joseph always has an economic plan in hand, right? What would that economic plan be? I think it's a pyramid scheme. All right, so there's my joke. But let's talk. Let's talk about the miracle of Hanukkah and the events of Joseph's life, because they do intertwine and they do offer us some things to think about. So the thing I always strikes me in this Torah portion, the one that always catches my attention, is that part of Pharaoh's dream where he says, and then there were these seven ugly, gaunt, or famished cows that come out of the Nile River, and they eat up the handsome, sturdy cows that came up before. And then, according to the narrative, this is the moment that Pharaoh awakes. Well, I just can't get the image of cannibalistic cows out of my head. But more important than that, I think, is the image of these weak, feeble cows overcoming these healthy, powerful cows. And what an intriguing image that is. So at Hanukkah, of course, we have a specifically designated miracle, which is the miracle of oil. And we're all amused by the thought that it is such a small and odd little miracle. But you know, in the blessing for Hanukkah, it doesn't say anything about the miracle of the lights. It does say, however, that we say a prayer: you delivered the strong from the weak. You delivered the hands of the few to the mighty, the corrupt to the those of pure of heart, the guilty to those who are innocent. And those are the miracles that are described in our liturgy. So apparently, a miracle is not exactly what we think it is. It seems to be not necessarily a violation of the natural order, but a remarkable reversal, an unexpected reversal. When the gaunt cows overcome the strong cows, when the weak Maccabees overcome the powerful Greco-Syrians, these things are miracles. Now, the added element that we can focus on is the word nes. Nes is the Hebrew word for miracle, but it's also the Hebrew word for a flag or a banner or a pendant. So what's going on there? I mean, that's what it says on the Sivivon on the dreidel, right? Nes Gadol Haya Sham. A great miracle happened there. So a miracle is a nes. So I think a miracle doesn't have to be uh, counter natural. It can be natural, but it has to be striking. It has to leap out us in a way that makes us say, wow, that was unexpected. I need to think about that for a while. It's more than an ordinary event, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a supernatural event. It can simply be an extraordinary event. If I were to think of an example of a modern nace, I think for those of us who can remember the remarkable six-day victory of the Israeli army over four different nations who were seeking to make war on them simultaneously, seems like a nace. Many people described it as a miracle. Now, we can explain in rational terms why the Israelis were more successful. They occupied the central position in the lines of communication. They had an excellent organizational plan. They had thought through what they did. They trained to fight. But it's still remarkable that a seemingly small nation with a relatively small military overcame much larger countries, much more powerful countries in a matter of 6 days. So it's actually a pretty good example of what I think is the biblical notion of a nes, an extraordinary event that doesn't have to be miraculous. And so it's enough that it's unexpected, that it defies the odds. And so I think that what we need to realize is that when Joseph is able to overcome all of the disadvantages that he finds himself in. He was a brother, he's sold into slavery, he rises within the context of being a slave in a Egyptian household. Then he's brought down again by false accusations. He is imprisoned. He again rises within the context of the prison in which he is currently being held. And then, remarkably, he ends up being chief steward, vizier, second most powerful man in Egypt, going from a dungeon, which is effectively the lowest thing you can imagine, to being a powerful vizier is a remarkable reversal. It's a reversal worthy of Chanukah. And it is, in fact, a nace. So, the one thing I have to add to that is that Joseph helped make the miracle possible. How? By being able to take a vision, Pharaoh's dream, and offering a plan of action that seemed to be a plausible way to overcome what would otherwise be an absolutely disastrous situation. He had a plan to deal with the inevitable catastrophe. And in that, he stands as a model for the Israelis in the 67 war. They knew that they were facing a vast enemy with more resources, with more people, with more equipment. But what they did was they made a plan. And they came up with a way to realize, potentially realize, a way to overcome the superior forces in front of them. Joseph did the same thing. He took this dream and he offered not just the problem to Pharaoh, but he offered a solution. And I think it was Margaret Thatcher who once said, and I do not know what cabinet member it was that she was referring to, but she says, I love so and so because all my other cabinet members bring me problems, but he brings me solutions. That is what Joseph does. And as a result, he turns a catastrophe into a nace, into a banner of something great. And I think really a nace ultimately means an extraordinary event, not necessarily supernatural, that somehow points to the presence of God, or points to the, or if you prefer, just points to the presence of a plan. To know that there is a plan, to know that the events around us can have meaning. That is the basis of a nace. So we should plan, and when we see a plan come together, we should celebrate it as a great miracle, as something that really makes it possible for us to reverse the order of life in a way that's positive for everyone. So that's my Torah portion for this week. I hope you continue to enjoy Hanukkah. I hope everyone comes out for Menorah-thon on Friday. Bring your menorah, bring some candles. I think it's the sixth night. And we're gonna sing. We're gonna tell stories. We're gonna have a great time. So it might even be the great coming out party for Cole and me after the after COVID shut down and things like this. What would I say to you? Plan on it. Take care, everyone.